Hey everyone, Harold Fisher here again, anchor and host of the Daily Drum on WHUR. Welcome to another edition of HUR at Home Newsmakers on WHUR.com and all of our social media platforms. It is a symbol of modern protests and a rallying cry for those demonstrating against excessive force by police. But a group of Black business leaders in the District of Columbia say the work done on Black Lives Matter Plaza isn't keeping with the symbolism of the message. Well, joining me to talk about that and some other issues is Alfred Swailes. He is the co-chairman of the board of the DC Black Business Task Force. Mr. Swailes, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, Harold, thank you very much for having me. We really appreciate you giving us the time to kind of voice a little opinion here.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that opinion about Black Lives Matter Plaza. You don't have a problem with the plaza itself. You're talking about the business process around the actual work being done. Explain your point.
Well, basically, the Black Lives Matter Plaza has become a symbol for inequality and injustice, not only here in the District of Columbia, but around the country for Black and brown people. Now, at first, the mayor and the city just temporarily put up this particular symbol to just show that there were some injustices and inequalities that, from the shootings of George Floyd and some of the Breonna Taylor and some of the other people around the country. And of course, a lot of people came to the city and they marched, for the Black Lives Matter. And so this plaza was created with a sign and up on a lamppost. And then also John Lewis and the mayor stood out in front of the national cameras and made this place really a symbol for the injustice and inequality among Black people. And deciding to make it a permanent place is not a bad idea. But then not to have a Black company to actually do the work, which we are capable. And the reason why we are capable, because we helped build the Capitol, the White House, and all the rest of the places around for years. So we have the capacity to do it. To not have that done just shows, again, how inequality and injustice, even among Black businesses, still precipitates. And in DC, we can look at that as a glaring symbol of what happens all around the city every day to projects that are going on where Black companies are not getting the opportunities across the board in healthcare, in IT, in construction, more importantly. That's the most glaring physical thing that we can see on a day-to-day basis. The district spends almost $10 billion, $14 billion in their budget. I don't believe that we are even capturing how much of that money is being spent with Black businesses.
Now, I know that, for example, you are a professional painter by trade, and so you understand this process very well. Fort Myers Construction is the company that is that was charged with the painting of the letters, and we reached out to the Department of Transportation to get a comment about the contracting of that. We did not get a response back, hoping that we would get some kind of comment, and so we did not hear from them. But to that point, more broadly, even beyond the Black Lives Matter Plaza issue, what do you believe is the state of Black contractors in the district? Certainly, there are. They do have a piece of the pie.
Well, we don't know, Harold, how much pieces that we actually are getting, because in the past, nobody has been collecting that type of data to really give us a true idea. Now, of course, you can kind of I tell you, the best judge that we have right on this right there on the surface. Look at our communities, because you have to go with black business and jobs and economy. So if black business is not doing well, neither does the community. And if the community is not doing well, most likely in this country, your black businesses are not doing well either. So the capacity, well, how much business we're actually getting, we don't know. So what we had to do was we actually have to have a disparity study, and that's being done as we speak. Councilmember McDuffie, he came up with the legislation to put the money there to actually do the disparity study. And of course, the mayor had to implement it, which he has done. And so what we got now is a disparity study that's going on. We as a black business community are trying to reach out to the community to let them know that this study is going on at this particular time and how they can participate. Whether it's from interviews, surveys, we need to hear their voice. Now, along with that, we have teamed up with the Urban League to actually get that message out to the community, to let them know that the disparity study is going on and how they can participate. So how we can, fortunately, hopefully, at the end of the day, when the study is done, we actually have the true measure of how much money in the past the district has actually spent with minorities, but most importantly, with black businesses. If you want to solve some of the problems in the black community, Harold, you have to have jobs, and the way you do it is through black business. That's the way we can solve a lot of our problems in this community, in the black community.
Well, that statement is as old as black people in this country, and I think you make a very excellent point. How can black business owners, entrepreneurs in the district participate in this disparity study? How can they find out more about it? Do they need to reach out to Councilmember McDuffie? Is there a way that they can find out more information about that? Because that is a critical piece, not for protest, but just for data.
Well, again, we teamed up with the Urban League. We're going to be doing some outreaches to the community to let them know how they can participate. Also, DENPAD, which is the Department of Economic and Development, on their website, there is all the information that they need to know about the disparity study and how they can participate. There are going to be some focus groups down the road. There will be interviews and, of course, a lot of surveys and phone calls from the team that is actually conducting the disparity study. They can call the NAACP. They know about it, the DC chapter. They can also look online. There's a lot of information about the DC Disparity Study out there on the web. But then they can email us at DC Black Business Task Force @gmail.com.
Let's say that one more time, because I definitely want people to get that out there.
Black Business Task Force
at DC
Black Business Task Force @gmail.com. So that's DC Black Task Force @gmail.com. And if they email us, we will definitely send them the information that we have about the disparity study.
DC Black Business Task Force @gmail.com. When this disparity study is complete, what do you hope will come out of it?
Well, we hope that we go along with Councilmember McDuffie's vision on this, where he actually understands that what we need to do is have a minority business program in the District of Columbia. And that's the reason why the disparity study needs to be done first, so it can't be contested in court of why we go to a minority business contract, a minority business enterprise program. What that will do is we can set aside, because of past discrimination, systematic discrimination, we can try to come up with remedies to try to turn the tide, to make sure that now at least Black businesses get some of what the district is spending. Right now we have what they call a neutral CBE program, or program.
What is that?
That is I think it's a CBE program, which is a race and gender neutral program. So all you have to do basically is set up an office in DC and be under the SPE small business guidelines, and you're able to be a CBE. And that means anybody can actually be in this program. So, and it's not determined because of that. That means that you can actually systematically not have Black or minorities participate in your government contracting. And we know that Blacks need to have a program. That's the reason why all these programs from the beginning, when the Congressional Black Caucus, more importantly, Perry Mitchell and Stokes and Dellums and Front Row and Chisholm and all them started setting up these programs, it was initially done because of the systemic racism in the past that excluded Black businesses from government contracts, more importantly, federal contracts. And then it ran down to the MBE program in the state. And as we look at DC, even though it's not actually, it's run as a state, and they do procure their own contracts. So we need them to understand that we need and have an MBE program that will set aside and help remedy some of the systemic racism and discrimination that causes not only to not have contracts, but also, Harold, to have capacity. Because in order to have capacity, you have to perform. And if you're not getting the contracts to perform, then you are not allowed to create capacity, to grow, to build, to hire people that look like you. And one thing the chief, it was a shoot real quick, Eric, because I know we're running out of time here, but real quick, the chief even said this morning, because we had a shooting in the city, he said he understands that there's other programs that can help the community. And that's a breakthrough, because a lot of times we just figure in the Black community, let's just lock everybody up and throw away the key. So what we need to have is a focus on Black business, the same, some of this money to make sure that Black business can expand and hire people, so we can create a era of where people feel that it's more important to have a job and be able to take care of their family, buy food, buy clothes, buy houses, more than it is to be a criminal or allow the criminal element to be in your community. And
you make that excellent point, because the chief has said that when they were talking about, for example, grants, about a month or so ago, all of these grants that the city was having to help stem the tide of violence in the community. Those grants aren't just for ideas, but in some of those cases, those grants will help to employ people for community services. And so I think those kinds of things, you may have nonprofits that are getting the grants. And so what you're talking about is the business side of that. It parallels that. So if you have Black businesses in some of these challenged communities that are also hiring young people who, if they did not have jobs, may be going down the wrong road. Am I on point here?
Yeah, you're on point there. That's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about, and I know we showed on time, but I know we're talking about actually having those programs include Black business in those programs, all the programs. We have to include in all our conversations Black business, in all our conversations of how to solve the problems in the Black community. We have to start saying, put Black business out front And it's not about owning a big house. It's about employing people. The statistics shows, Harold, in the Census Bureau, that Black companies employ more people who look of color than any other entity except for the government. So if that's the case, then, and we got to stop using past or best practices. We have to think outside the box now, Harold, because past things that has occurred hasn't really solved the problems. So we have to put Black business out front. We have to go from a welfare, poverty, subsidized economy in the Black community to a business economy, like everybody else in this country.
A way to be self-sufficient. I'm going to have that be the last word, but we will definitely stay in touch as we keep an eye on that disparity study. Alfred Swailes, co-chairman of the board of the DC Black Business Task Force. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. I really appreciate your insight.
Yeah, thank you, Harold. Appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And that's it for this edition of HUR at Home Newsmakers. I'm Harold Fisher. And as always, I'll see you on the radio.